Hey guys, it's Kyle Thompson here with Rossmont Real Estate Group, and in today's video, I'm going to be covering the home buying process from start to finish. I find I talk to a lot of people that are looking to get into the market, but they don't really know where to start or what's all involved in the process. So in today's video, I'm going to clear some of that up. The first thing you're going to need to do is make sure that you get finances in order. So that means saving up enough money for a down payment. Typical down payment will be at least 5% of the purchase price if the property you're looking at buying is under $500,000. If it's over $500,000, it'll be 10% on the portion between $500,000 and $1 million. Any properties over $1 million will be a flat 20%. You'll also need to save up money for closing costs. This includes property transfer tax, GST, conveyancing, home inspection, all that kind of stuff. The rule of thumb for closing costs is to save up between 2 and 4% of the purchase price. However, depending on the property that you're trying to purchase, that might not be enough. GST, for example, is 5% on its own. So if you're looking at buying something new, expect to pay at least that and then additional closing costs on top of that. You won't really know how much money you need to save up until you go get pre-approved. So my suggestion would be to go get pre-approved early on. If you don't know a good lender, please feel free to reach out and I will send you my trusted provider sheet that has multiple lenders to choose from. Once you have an idea of what you'll be approved for, it's a good idea to start looking online to see what you can afford in different areas of town, and then come up with a list of areas that you would like to be in, as well as areas you would like to avoid. It's also important to come up with a list of wants versus needs. For example, you might want an open concept or a large yard, whereas you might need to be in a certain catchment area for a school or have a property that allows for pets. It is a good idea to have these wants and needs clearly defined so that we know where we can make concessions and what things are deal breakers. The next step would be to find an agent to work with. I would suggest asking around to friends and family to find out who they recommend, or if you've been looking online, then I'm sure that you have some agents that have been reaching out to you. Obviously, I think that you should use me, but not everyone will. So my suggestion would be to meet up with a few different agents and find out who's the best fit for you. It's not necessarily the best idea to go with the first person who reaches out to you. Buying a home will be the largest purchase that most people make, so it's critically important that you can trust the person that's representing you. One of the nice advantages to buying in British Columbia is that in the vast majority of cases, the seller pays both sides of the commission. That means that you get representation, experience from an agent, and the liability protection that comes with working with an agent, all for free. Once you have yourself a good agent, the fun part begins, and you get to actually start looking at homes. What will end up happening is your agent will set you up on a search alert to help streamline the process. Then when you find a home or several homes that you're interested in seeing, then they will set up the showings and you can go take a look at them. It is best practice to give your agent 24 hours notice before viewings, as some properties will have tenants and the minimum required notice for a tenant is 24 hours. However, we understand people's lives are busy and 24 hours notice isn't always going to happen, but that is a good framework to use. It's also a good idea to drive to the properties that you're interested in advance. You'd be amazed at how often somebody pulls up to a property and something about the neighborhood or the outside of the house won't work for them, and the showing is essentially over before it starts. Once you find a property that you're interested in, you'll let your agent know and they'll start writing up the offer. They'll help you figure out things like what the completion date's going to be, what type of price you should offer, as well as they'll put conditions into the offer to help protect you. The conditions that you put into the offer will change depending on the circumstances and what type of property you're going to buy, but your agent will help walk you through this so you're both informed and protected. Once all the details are ironed out, your agent will submit the offer on your behalf. Then there'll probably be some countering back and forth until hopefully a deal can be struck. Once that happens, you're officially under contract. Then we move on to the due diligence phase. Remember those subjects that I just mentioned? This is where you satisfy them. Typically in Kamloops, you have between 10 to 14 days to satisfy your subjects. However, this can change depending on market conditions, and it's really just up to how the deal is structured. That means lining up a home inspection, reviewing any strata documents if there are any, and securing your financing. Just because we're pre-approved for a certain amount doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get the financing. The property itself plays an important role in the calculation. Essentially, the bank needs to know that they're going to get their money back out of the property in the event that you default. So the short version is, just because you're approved doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get financing. If for some reason you can't satisfy your subjects in time, you may be able to get an extension from the seller, but that's not guaranteed. So it is important to keep in mind that time is of the essence. At some point in time, a deposit will be due as well. Depending on how the deal is structured, this could be within 24 hours of acceptance, or more often in Kamloops, we do it when we remove the subjects. The size of the deposit can change depending on the offer, but typically in Kamloops we get away with between $5,000 and $10,000. Once all the conditions are satisfied, we do what's called subject removal, where we remove the subjects from the offer and the offer becomes firm. That means that all parties have agreed to the terms of the contract and the deal is moving forward. If for some reason you can't remove your subjects from the offer, then the deal will collapse. If the deal goes firm, then the home is essentially yours, it's just not yours yet, which takes us on to closing. This is where you'll choose a lawyer or a notary to handle the conveyancing. If you don't know a good lawyer or notary, talk to your real estate agent and they'll be able to advise you on some good professionals around town. A couple of days before your closing date, your conveyancer will call you in to sign all of the paperwork and pay any money outstanding. Finally, on the completion date, the title and the money will change hands and you'll be the official owner of your new home. One last thing I'd like to point out is to take note of the possession date. The possession date is often, but not always, the day after the completion date. It can be longer than that, but it is generally not on the completion date. The last thing you want is to be all excited for your home and move out of your old place just to find out that you're a day early. The possession date will be clearly specified in the contract, but it is just something that I think is worth pointing out. Then on the possession date, your agent will meet you at the property to do a final walkthrough just to ensure that everything is as it should be, to hand you your keys, and to congratulate you on your new home. That's it. I really hope that you got some value out of this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. And as always, if you ever have any questions or you have some suggestions on videos you would like me to make, please leave your comments in the comment section below, and I will get to them as soon as I am able. Thanks for watching.